In the last episode, we talked about chassis types and how to fabricate the structure of a car. Now it's time to talk about what actually makes the car move: the engine and the transmission. Before choosing specific parts, you need to understand the different types of engines and gearboxes, and more importantly, what each one is best used for. Because there is no best engine or transmission, only the right combination for the job. Welcome to part 2 of the How to Build a Car at Home series. Before you choose your engine and gearbox, you must understand the build goals. And if you remember, in the last episode, we talked about those goals in detail. Those same goals must also guide the choice of engine and transmission. Because the engine and gearbox don't work in isolation, they define how the car drives, feels, and performs. So with that in mind, let's start breaking down the different engine types and what each one is actually best used for. For this build, we'll be focusing on 2 engine types: naturally aspirated and forced induction. Let's start with naturally aspirated engines. Naturally aspirated engines rely purely on atmospheric pressure to pull air into the cylinders. No turbochargers, no superchargers. What you get is exactly what the engine can breathe on its own. Because of that, naturally aspirated engines are best suited for daily driving, track reliability, linear throttle response, and simpler builds. One of the biggest advantages of an NA engine is how it delivers power. Throttle response is instant, smooth, and predictable, which makes these engines excellent for learning, circuit racing, and long-term street use. They're also mechanically simpler, and that simplicity comes with real benefits: less heat buildup, fewer failure points, lower maintenance costs. If your goal is a reliable street car, a track-focused build, or a clean OEM Plus setup, naturally aspirated engines make a lot of sense. But there is a downside. Once you've done basic bolt-on upgrades, power gains become limited and expensive. To make serious power, you usually need higher compression, aggressive camshafts, or internal engine work. Next up, forced induction engines. Unlike naturally aspirated engines, forced induction engines use external systems to push more air into the engine. More air, more fuel, more power. Turbocharged engines. Turbochargers use exhaust gases to spin a turbine, forcing compressed air into the engine. The engine uses its own exhaust to make more power. Turbos are best for high power builds, drag racing, highway pulls, power-focused street cars. They're very efficient, but come with turbo lag, more heat, and added complexity. If your goal is maximum power per dollar and you're comfortable with tuning, turbocharging is the way to go. Supercharged engines. They're driven directly by the engine using a belt, which means boost is available instantly. Superchargers are best for street performance, track cars, instant throttle response, predictable power delivery. They're less efficient than turbos and draw power from the engine, but there's no lag. Superchargers feel smooth, linear, and easy to control, especially on the street. Turbos focus on maximum power. Superchargers focus on instant response. Neither is better. The right choice depends entirely on your build goals. Now that we understand engines, let's talk about what actually puts that power to the ground: the transmission. Because the wrong gearbox can ruin even the best engine. For this build, we'll be covering 4 types of transmissions: manual, automatic, sequential, and DCT. Let's start with the manual. Manual transmission are the most traditional and mechanically simple option. They rely on the driver to select gears using a clutch and a shifter. Manual gearboxes are best for daily driving street builds, beginner drivers, budget-friendly projects. They're reliable, easy to service, and give full control over the car. The downside? Shift speed depends entirely on the driver. Next, we have automatic transmissions. Automatic gearboxes remove the clutch pedal entirely. The transmission handles shifting for you. Traditional automatics use a torque converter. They're best for daily drivers, comfort-focused builds, stop-and-go traffic. They're smooth and reliable, but slower to respond compared to manual gearboxes. Then there's the sequential gearbox, and this is a different story. You shift up or down in order, no skipping gears. Sequential transmissions are best for Track cars, time attack, motorsport builds. They're fast and precise, but expensive, noisy, and require frequent maintenance. This is not a daily driver gearbox. Finally, we have the dual clutch transmission, or DCT. DCTs use two clutches to pre-select gears, allowing lightning-fast shifts. They're best for performance street cars, track-focused builds, fast, consistent lap times. They shift extremely fast, but they're complex, expensive, and not easy to repair. Final transmission advice. Manuals give control and simplicity. Automatics give comfort and consistency. Sequential gearboxes belong on track. DCTs belong in high-performance builds. The best transmission isn't the fastest. It's the one that matches how the car will actually be driven. Now that we've covered engines and transmissions, let's quickly talk about drivetrain layouts, because this determines where the power actually goes. Front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive sends power to the front wheels. In most FWD cars, the engine, transmission, and differential are combined into a single unit, called a transaxle. It's simple and space-efficient, but limited when it comes to handling balance and high-power performance. Rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive sends power to the rear wheels. The engine connects to a standalone transmission, then a drive shaft sends power to a rear differential. This setup offers better weight balance, improved steering feel, and higher power handling capability. All-wheel drive. All-wheel drive sends power to all four wheels. This usually requires a transmission with a transfer case, front and rear differentials, additional drive shafts. It adds traction and stability, but also increases weight, cost, and mechanical complexity. Key drivetrain takeaway. Your drivetrain layout must match your engine and transmission choice. Transaxles are common in FWD. Standalone transmissions and differentials are used in RWD. AWD requires the most planning and components. Get the layout wrong, and the build becomes a compromise from day one. That wraps up this episode on engines, transmissions, and drivetrain layouts. In the next episode, we'll break down suspension and handling, the different types, how they work, and how they completely change the way a car feels on the road. Because power means nothing if the car can't control it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.